All right, so we've converted over our create endpoint. The next endpoint we're going to convert over to use MongoDB is going to be the delete endpoint. So this one's going to be pretty straightforward. All we're going to have to do is call the remove function on our collection with the appropriate ID, and MongoDB will take care of the rest. So what we're going to do, we're going to leave to-do ID, which we're getting from the URL parameters. That's just like we want it. And we're going to remove this fake to-dos thing because, again, fake to-dos no longer exist. And in its place, we're going to put our MongoDB query. So essentially what we're going to do here is we're going to say await db.collection to-dos.remove one. And it is important that we say remove one in this case, just in case something goes wrong with our filter, right? It could happen that if you say something like ID and to-do ID, and to-do ID ends up being undefined or something like that, it could happen if you were to use something other than remove one, that it would delete your entire collection by accident. So obviously we want to avoid that, and that's why we're using remove one here. So all this is telling MongoDB is that we want to remove the to-do with the ID property equal to this. But in order for this to actually work, we need to import something else from MongoDB up at the top. And that thing is called object ID. So essentially, remember that when we were playing around with MongoDB in the shell, which I can show you again. So we'll say Mongo, hit enter. If we say use full stack react to-dos, and say db.todos.find, right? Remember that the underscore ID property that MongoDB gave to us is supposed to be this object ID thing with the string inside of it, okay? A lot of people forget to actually convert this string into an object ID before using it to query by ID, and it just doesn't work, right? So we need to actually wrap this to-do ID thing in an object ID, right? That object ID constructor we just imported. And that should work. The other thing that we have to do, however, right, we'll just run npm run dev to start up our server again. The other thing that we have to do is remember that this delete endpoint was sending back the updated to-dos to the user. And the way that we're going to do that here is we're just going to load all of the to-dos from the to-dos collection after we've made this remove one query here. So the way that we're going to do that, we're going to say const to-dos equals db.collection to-dos.find. We're going to find all of them and convert that to an array. And this is just like what we did up here too, by the way. There's really no difference. And now that we have those, oh, we need to say await, by the way, too. Now that we have our to-dos, we're just going to send those back to the client by saying response.json to-dos, and that should allow us to delete our to-dos. So let's head back to our front end and give this a try. So we're going to try and delete one of our to-dos here. We'll delete, go to the grocery store. Okay, so we're going to say delete, and it looks like something happened, or didn't happen rather. All right, let's take a look at our server. Aha, it looks like there was an error. And this error says remove one is not a function. Aha, and that is because after talking about how we use remove one in such detail, it's actually called delete one. Okay, remove is when you want to remove more than one of them. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is, well, just restart our server, which happens automatically, and let's give that another try. So we're going to refresh. We're going to try and delete go to the grocery store, and sure enough, it works now. Like a charm. So that's how we delete items from a Mongo database using Node.js. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.